How many lovers have you made today? Chapter 2, Part 2.
Checkmate,
Blossom says with a cocky grin. Anon is glaring at the board with an unwavering gaze. No matter how long he sits there thinking over what happened, he can't figure out how it could have ended this way. Unable to comprehend where he went wrong, he flips the board. He has absolutely no idea how she managed to do that for the 10th time. Blossom is like the pony version of Bobby Fischer. "You cheated," he exclaims. "I don't know how, but I know you did."
oh, stop being such a fool. No need to throw a hissy fit just because you lost.
Blossom's grin remains as she spares the human a sly glance, brushing a stray pawn from her lap.
Well, I guess you're not as bright as you pretend to be. Maybe go fish is your type of game.
Anon is shaking in pure rage as he gives her the dirtiest scowl that he can muster. This does nothing more than make Blossom giggle. Anon takes a second to calm down a bit, and once he does, he notices the room is still terribly empty. The sisters are taking their sweet time.
You worried?
No, just wondering if I have time to take a bath before they get here. Blossom looks at Anon with a raised brow and smirks.
Want me to join you?
That makes Anon scoff. Why even ask? You just watch me like a creeper anyway. Blossom shrugs.
I will admit, I do find your anatomy to be rather interesting.
That remark is enough to get a blush from Anon. Don't get any funny ideas. Hearing that only makes Blossom smirk.
Funny ideas? Well, from the blush on your face, it seems to be quite the contrary. Are you thinking naughty thoughts about me, Nani?
She teases. Can we change the subject? Blossom rolls her eyes.
Oh, you're too easy to tease, Anon.
The both of them go silent for a moment before Blossom asks.
So, how long do humans last in bed anyways?
Just before Anon can lose it, the door to the dining hall opens. Celestia stands there as she scans over the place. Anon is sitting there at the table with a red face, Luna's captain sitting across from him. A chessboard lays on the floor, with all the pieces scattered about as well. What is going on here?
Are we interrupting something?
Celestia asks. Anon realizes that he left a bit of a mess after his last match with Blossom. Things got a bit heated. Anon is about to get out of his seat, but finds that Luna has already picked everything up in her magic and set it back onto the table.
I assume Blossom beat you?
She deduces, approaching the table with a grin. Yeah, pretty much. Anon replies, pretending the loss didn't bother him. Luna giggles at that.
I'm not surprised. I've played against her more than a few times in the past.
Did you ever win? Luna shakes her head with a small smile.
Not once. She's very good at it. Ironic, considering I was the one who introduced her to the game.
Blossom gives a short bow.
Thank you for the compliment, Princess.
She gets out of her seat and takes a small step away from the table.
If you don't mind, I'd like to head back to work. I wouldn't wish to disturb your meal.
Celestia can only look between Luna's captain and Anon. She's surprised by how quickly Anon has taken to trusting this pony, but she's happy that Anon is comfortable. Any friend of his is undoubtedly a pony worth getting to know.
You don't have to.
Celestia speaks up.
It's no bother to me.
Luna examines her sister before her attention falls to her captain. She has a hunch that her sister has taken an interest in Blossom. It's not surprising, seeing as Anon and her have grown somewhat close since they've met. This brings solace to Luna, knowing that her most trusted captain is not only protecting Anon, but perhaps even coming out of her own shell. For a while now, Blossom has mostly been stuck in the barracks doing work, a side that Luna never knew personally because Blossom was once very social when her partner was alive. Luna shakes those dark thoughts away. She's glad that it worked out so well and that she doesn't have to worry about Anon when she's not around.
You know I don't mind the company, Captain.
Luna encourages as she faces Blossom.
I guess I have the free time.
Blossom concedes, taking her seat. With that out of the way, both sisters take their seats beside Anon, one at each side. However, Blossom takes notice of the fact that Celestia is sitting uncomfortably close to Anon. In fact, she's all but leaning against him. This is something that Anon is keenly aware of. Celestia is pressing against him so much that he's now pushed against Luna. Is everything alright? Anon stammers. Celestia, for the most part, is enacting the first phase of Cadence's plan, doing small things to get Anon comfortable with her being close. She has to start somewhere, and this felt like a good time as any.
I just feel a bit cold is all.
Celestia lies. Weird, but indeed not the strangest thing Anon has experienced. It honestly feels pretty hot in here, but then again, that's probably due to the fact that he's currently sandwiched between both sisters. He doesn't understand how pony biology works, but wouldn't he get cold before Celestia did? What does he know? Alicorn physiology is complicated, and there's no point in him trying to make sense of it if that's the case. He's not entirely uncomfortable, so he's willing to let whatever this is happen without complaint. Well, get comfortable, I guess. Thanks to her sister's initiative, Anon is pressed firmly against Luna. The Night Princess receives a knowing smirk from her captain, which causes her eyes to widen as her heart starts to race. It's hard for Luna to control herself with Anon as close as he is. Adding to that fact that her sister is finally taking steps in the courting process, some excitement swells within her as well. Celestia is faring no better right now. Her face is so red that her blush is even starting to creep down her neck a little bit. Luckily, Anon is facing the table, otherwise with her early accounts of being cold, he'd likely worry that she was running a high fever. It's nice having him near. She imagines a day where she can hold him this close all the time. Celestia clears her throat.
Let's enjoy our meal.
Celestia casts a spell to call a waiter to take their orders. Despite how unusual this situation is, it's nothing too out of the ordinary for Anon, so he's okay with it. Twilight is waiting at the front gate for Cadence and Shining to arrive. While she should be looking forward to the meal that she's about to have, her thoughts always circle back around to what happened with Anon. He actually did consider her proposal. She never would have thought in 1,000 years he'd be willing to hear her out, let alone seriously consider what she asked of him. Twilight still isn't clear on what drives Anon, but it has to be something invaluable. She hopes to find something like that and perhaps it awaits her at the end of this quest for redemption.
Twilight!
Calls the easily recognizable voice of her former foal-sitter, breaking her from her reverie. Cadence and Shining, upon exiting the castle, are quickly trotting over to her. She lifts a hoof and gives them a small wave.
Hey there.
She says meekly.
You all set?
Cadence asks. It's not like Twilight could plan for something like this. Other than taking a bit more time this morning to groom herself, she didn't do much else than talk to Spike for a bit. The two of them have been slowly coming to terms with what happened. It indeed was tough to get him to listen at first, but he's thankfully calmed down a bit since then. He does tend to head out on his own a lot more, probably to think about other things.
Yeah.
Twilight hesitantly replies.
Where are we headed?
Cadence could see Twilight's apprehension. Though it disconcerts her, she will admit that Twilight does look better than she did all those weeks ago. Cadence can thank Anon for that, it seems.
Just the small restaurant around the corner. Have you eaten yet?
Twilight shakes her head.
No, I was preoccupied with something else this morning. Perfect! Then this all works out. Shining and I are starving.
Twilight hesitantly looks over to her brother. Shining, for the most part, appears indifferent, having not uttered a single word. It's been a while since Twilight had spoken to Shining. The last that she can remember was when he tried to take the ring off of her horn all those months ago. The pained look on his face when she refused to let him take it off is burned into her memory. After that day, they haven't seen each other much. He was there when Twilight went to her parents for dinner and he tried his hardest to talk with her, but Twilight knew how much it strained him. At the time, she didn't understand why Shining was acting the way that he was, merely thinking that his actions were because he hated her. She knows better now. Shining believes that he's failed, not only in his job but also protecting his family. She can see, even now, how much pain he's in due to how he's holding back from saying anything, in fear that he could break whatever little progress Twilight has made. Twilight is also at a loss for words. This is another reason why she must undergo this task, to hopefully find the right approach to help mend their strained relationship. To tell him that she's sorry, that she loves him, and that he'll always be her BBFF. Right now, though, it doesn't really seem as if those words have much meaning to her. He has a tremendous burden to carry, and it'll take time for her to help him. She has so many ponies that she's wronged, and the thought crosses her mind that this outing is just a waste of time. This is something that she must come to terms with. The idea of taking things slowly and allowing others to take control, as opposed to her never-ending self-absorption.
Not time like the present.
Twilight says, and Cadence nods.
You're right. We'll have more than enough time to chat when we're seated.
Twilight lets Cadence and Shining take the lead as she follows behind them. An odd question hits her from nowhere. Why are Cadence and Shining together so much? Twilight decides not to dwell on that realization for too long. It's really none of her business. I can't imagine being brought down on reputation so much that regaining it is near impossible. I do not wish that on anybody. I really don't, because that It hurts. That hurts so bad. People that don't hurt, though, are our passive donators. Top donators: Dash of Evergreen, Peter Coulthard, J Tinman, Darkside, and Ponyman. Courier Cruciai, Strix, Sar630, Narwhals, Delta Omega, Runescythe 9852, Dospo, Rhiny Dragonwolf, Hunter Norman, Austin Roland, Secret Moon, Tall Russia, The Toilet Snake, Sword Brethren Mordred, Cerberus, Gulashing Hazar, Ronin Wandering, Enderai63, Random Person Man Guy, Easy, Starlight Glimmer, Squiddy Boy, Divity Sanchez, Soul Dragon, Gaggy, Trey, Shadow Drake, GeoPierce, Alex F, Rainbow Dash, Tioka Anderson, TV Killer, John Becker, Leon Reynolds, Raven Speedster, Zach Rakau, Mr. ECU, Leslie Prickett, Edgar Garcia, One Kingdom 1, Nissa Rusan, Vizuri, and Dyslexic Character Sheets. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.